This is The Artist Response with Elizabeth Stewart, and you're welcome to join us.
I had a computer issue
Please
the
stay
other day, and
tuned
I
for a
overwrote
program
the
produced
new
by
one with
Richard
the old
Dugan
one.
and
I'll
researched
change it
and
out later.
presented by Elizabeth Stewart, who welcomes the great artists of our community. What follows is a conversation of an artist's experience about the artist's response to trying times, creativity, reinvention, recovery, and of course, flexibility, which is in fact the narrative of our present
3,
time.
2, 1, you're live.
Hello, 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 Santa Barbara. It's your chantress of everything valuable and beautiful, Elizabeth Stewart, and yay, dance!
Yes.
Yay!
Yay, dance.
Yay, dance. We've got a company to talk to today, and my listeners know I'm very partial to dancers and dance, and anything like that just makes me just so excited because I think Santa Barbara needs more dance, and I think we're going to get some. We've got Nebula Dance Lab with us, and I have Devin Duax with us, who's the director, artistic director, founder, etc. And I've got two of her company, her core, and you guys don't call it core, I don't think, do you? In your world?
Company members.
Yeah, okay. Yep. And we were chatting before the show that there's a difference. I came up through a different tradition, which is the classical ballet tradition, and it's a different tradition, but it's the same thing. It's using your body to be a narrative voice, I guess. And that is what you do, and that's how you train and how you learn, and what an artistic director is focused upon, which is the really expressive vehicle that we have. And I was thinking about this, and I wanted to ask Devin, I was at, and I'm an appraiser now, and my dance career ended, of course it does, in classical ballet when you're about 33 years old, so that was it. And I was at an appraisal yesterday, and a woman said to me, my client, it's so interesting because we've lost physical, during the pandemic, we've lost physical consideration for each other. We don't know what to do with our bodies and with our faces because we've been, in seclusion for almost 3 years. So we don't know how to express with our bodies anymore because we haven't been out in the public socializing. And certainly, and she mentioned she's a mom of a high schooler. And she said, my kids, I can't read their faces in the same way because their faces are not expressing the same as they did before the pandemic. And I think that this is the role the dance has to lead, to show us again, for example, how we use this gift of having a body to be in society. What did they call that? The physical presence is something, it's almost like the sense of smell. We don't necessarily parade it, that we have this organ that we could smell. We take for granted that we can read each other just by our physical presence. And I was so happy to hear that you were coming to the Libero because of that, because I think that is a joy that we can share. Devin, I'd love to hear your thoughts about that. And have you said anything on the company that kind of meets this expectation of mine?
Yeah, and we've been really fortunate to be in residence at the Libero for, I think, going on close to 8 years, if I'm not mistaken. And we've really found a home there to bring the arts, not just to the public at large through ticket sales, but through students. So
tell me more about that. I didn't know.
This show is actually going to have 6 student shows. So we're going to bus in kids from all over the district. 2,400 to 3,600 students will see this program for free. So this is a big part of our platform. We believe exactly what you're saying. Arts plays a significant role in connecting people to their emotions, to, you know, that other side of your personality, not just your core learning skills that you're getting in academic programming, but tapping into that other side of you. And, you know, lots of studies show it can create a more well-rounded human being. I mean, we're all in the arts, so we get that. It can actually benefit you in your academic studies. It creates a better sense of community too. And so it's interesting you were saying, well, while you were talking about that, it was something we had reflected on in rehearsal, was that this is one of the few things, you know, if you've trained in other arts, like, you know, I have a background in music and acting and all these other things. This is the only form of art, though, where you're thrown in a room with somebody you may not have ever known, where all of a sudden you're touching, you know, you're leaning on each other, you're trusting each other. There's an immediate sense of that wall, the walls just come down. They have to come down. You have to be so present with your physical facility that almost opens up the rest of your emotional facilities and all these other things that you need to tap into in the arts. So it really is a unique, you know, dance really does have a unique opportunity to play a role in this conversation. And I'll throw it over. We've got Chloe Roberts. She's
Yeah, I was going to say, can you introduce
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we've got Chloe Roberts. She's one of our choreographers. And the unique thing about Nebula is it's not one singular voice. It's made up of many, many voices who have come through the company, who have something they want to share through choreographic voice. And it's a lot of it is collaboration. Some of our pieces are fully collaborative. Some of them are a singular choreography voice using the company, you know, as the ability to tell that story. Others are adaptations of books, which is what Chloe's really been working on with Humanity. And then we've got Ashley Kohler Reynolds, who's been with the company a significant amount of time. She was actually at the very, very, very early stages of Nebula, before we even named it, was a part of a piece I did back, you know, I don't know, what was it, 15 years ago or something like that. So we've been working together a really long time, and she's an assistant director of the company. So I'm going to actually have Chloe talk a little bit about that question as well, because I think you might have some interesting perspectives.
Yeah, definitely. So when Devin approached me a few years ago about this project, we had been in isolation for so long, and a lot of us were really nervous about the state of our careers, and, you know, not having access to dance studios, not having rehearsal, not having, you know, as a choreographer, I make my living off of setting choreography. So not having access to that was really scary. And so when Devin approached me about this project, I was really, really excited, because we talked a lot about how we really wanted to just focus on bringing something that was joyful to the community. As Devin says, we see anywhere between 2,600 to 3,400 students. And so making sure that they have dance accessible to them is so important. It really can change your life. I have so many students that I teach who, you know, they go to a show for the first time. Maybe they go to New York, or maybe they see a tour that's coming through Santa Barbara and they see dance for the first time, and that really inspires them to want to take dance class. And so when we started talking about this project, we really wanted to focus on something that was going to be joyful and kind of celebrate that we actually could perform again after being in isolation for so long. And so I hope that that's what this show brings to the audience. I think it does. I know that the dancers so far have all said that they love performing it, and that it's, you know, a really joyful and human experience. And that was what we really wanted to create. And I'm really excited about this season, because we've brought in some new dancers and we're adding a few new pieces to this show. So yeah, I'm very excited about it.
So can you tell me about the program, and, you know, how many dancers did you set in each piece, for example?
Yeah, this is a it's inspired by the short story by Dickens, A Child's Story. And we took our own spin on it. So we've got a female character in the main role who is traveling through New York City and has many different experiences along the way. And so we're really pulling in lots of styles of dance and music. And I'm going to actually, Ashley, do you want to jump in? You've been a part of this last year and this year. And then also Chloe, maybe you can talk a little bit more about the vision, the choreography aspect of it. Ash, you're on. I think you're muted.
Yay.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
I'm here. So yeah, this piece is so fun. it's so fun to be a part of, and it's, I'm sure, so fun to watch. There's several different styles of choreography, lots of styles of music. There's a Broadway section. There's a little Italy section. We're all supposed to be kind of employees in a pizza restaurant. And I'm not going to give away too much. You'll have to come see it. But lots of different styles of music, choreography. There's big group sections, and it's just full of energy. It's so much fun to do. The process has been amazing as well. Just working with all the dancers, everyone's so positive and excited to be there. And me personally, I'm so excited to bring this piece back this year. Because we were kind of mentioning all the kids that will be there. And last year we did some live streaming because some of the schools weren't quite ready to come into the theater. And so they had access to the show via live stream. And this year, I think we're going to have most all of the schools there physically. So I'm so excited to be able to kind of feel the energy of the kids coming back and see them. We get to do a Q&A usually at the end, and they ask questions, and it's just really a wonderful thing. So
as you know, the interaction between the performers and the audience is a huge part of the show. So live streaming and bringing it to thousands of kids that way was such a different experience.
Oh, I can only imagine. I
for
mean,
them
you know,
in
yeah.
their classrooms, and then also for the company, because they were performing to sometimes an open house with, you know, they'd have to visualize there's thousands of kids in there. So just really exciting to have them back.
I have to say, you know, we all through my career in dancing, we'd have to, you know, unfortunately do the nutcracker just to make the ends meet, you know, in classical ballet. And so, but the fun part was the girls would all come out and look at the young female, and some males too, dance out of the theater at the end of the performance. And that was such a, you know, sort of like, oh, we hated to do the same show every year, but you know, we got to see those little kids come out and, you know, just dance out the house. Yeah. So, you know, that was fun. I have a question for Ashley though, because she mentioned something that I'm going to ask the question, Richard, then we'll go to quick break. She mentioned that the piece is done on different genres of dance and on set to different styles of music. And I'm assuming actually it's one piece. This one piece is done.
Yeah, with... actually have Chloe answer that, just if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So,
yes.
But here's my question, and I want to know what the choreographer has to say about this. So, you know, just as a background, it's difficult to switch genres, and the modulation for a choreographer must be difficult to make that switch. And I'm just speaking from experience, technically speaking, that must be really quite a challenge to teach that transition. So I'm interested to know what you have to say about that. And just to reintroduce, I'm speaking with Nebula Dance Lab, resident company at the Libero. And the show is coming up. And I did not know that there was a huge teaching element to Nebula. Glad to know that. And we're talking with Chloe Roberts and Ashley and Devin Duex. And we're talking a little bit about the craft of dance as a background to the performance, but we're also talking about how new listeners might not completely conceive of how much effort and creation goes into a performance like this, because the idea of dance is when you're doing it, it should be effortlessness. And so I really wanted to get into this with the three gals here and talk a little bit about that. So maybe a new appreciation. Hey, Richard.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a quick question. This is a new backdrop you have on Zoom, and I see it's a building built in the 18th century. What is that?
Yes, it
is that Guinness?
You've got it. That's Guinness.
It's the Guinness factory.
And, during the commercials, I'm going in and getting some more.
Okay. Well, don't turn that down. Back with Nebula Dance Dance Lab in a few minutes.
You're clear. And if
So,
anybody
Chloe,
wants one, I'll be more than happy to get one for you too.
fabulous.
Absolutely fabulous.
So Chloe, you'll be on to answer that.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense for you to
Okay.
take it. Sorry, I didn't mean to take it out of your hands, Ashley.
Totally okay.
Just trying to spread the love. Spread the
All
love.
good. No, all good.
Yeah, I do want to get in there some I would like to get some encouragement in there for the public to come.
Right. I agree.
So, I think it's good we're talking about the student part, but definitely let's try to talk about, I think this is leading us there,
Okay.
this appreciation for what goes into it.
Now, did you have degrees, or did you come up through a company, or what's your training?
Yeah, so I've been working professionally since I was a teenager, and I really started in comedy and came up through a musical theater. So singing, I play a bunch of instruments, and I did a lot of stage musical theater work. But I have a degree from Point Park in musical theater. And then I did a lot of work, just TV, stage, and film for 10 plus years. I'm in a totally different field now. I'm in finance. I've been in finance for 20 years, but I've been running the company and keeping my toe in the water while trying to, build a family here and do all that other stuff. So I feel like I'm in a fortunate position to be able to continue to facilitate this for those like Chloe and Ashley who are dedicated. That's their life's work. So.
And Chloe, where did you come up?
So I grew up mostly in Houston, but my father was a Broadway PSM. And so I spent most of my early childhood on tour with him. So I was lucky enough to be able to be in the 1995 tour of Wizard of Oz. I got to do Big on tour. So that was all super fun. My mother was a dancer.
Here we go. We're coming back in 3, 2, 1. You're live.
Welcome back. It's Elizabeth Stewart. I'm speaking with Nebula Dance Lab, and I have Devin, Chloe, and Ashley from the company here. And we're talking a little bit about the performance coming up, Humanity. And what was really interesting to me was, I kind of know a little bit about the craft. And so was interested to know when Ashley mentioned that the piece was set different genres, so different styles of dance, different styles of movement, different angularities, etc. And then it's also set to different kinds of music. And my question for the choreographer Chloe was, how do you make those transitions teachable? How do you teach those transitions? And Chloe, what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. So I think one of the things that we're so fortunate to have in Nebula is that we have such a diverse cast. So all of our dancers are trained in multiple styles: modern, contemporary, ballet, jazz, ballroom, hip hop, tap. You have to be trained in all of those things now. Pretty much these days, to be a working dancer, you can't just be trained in one style anymore. And so we are so fortunate that all of our dancers are so diverse, which means that they can transition very easily from one style to the next. And then Devin also has helped us tell that story through some beautiful lighting and some beautiful set design. One of our other dancers helps build sets as well. So altogether, I think that it works really well because we are so fortunate to have such talented dancers. And we really wanted to make sure that we could showcase that we are not just a modern company or just a contemporary company, but we do have this very, very multi-talented cast.
So what's the most challenging transition in the piece?
We have one of our incredible cast members named Rachel, who is actually going to be performing an aerial silks piece. And so we transition from a full company number into Rachel doing the aerial silks into another full company number. So there's just a lot involved in that transition, tech-wise, music-wise, lighting-wise, costume changes, dancer stamina-wise. So, but it's really most difficult for Rachel.
So it's like, okay, this core, get out of the way.
Yes.
This core, get out of the way. This core, come back into the mess. Yeah, right. I can only imagine. Yeah. Right.
It's done. It's so dynamic. It's so fun. And it's kind of a surprise, I think, for the audience, which is really fun. this show is just full of really neat surprises along the way that keep you really uplifted. And that was, again, to Chloe's earlier comment, that was a goal of ours. You know, this is a really tough time. You know, mental health is such a huge challenge, and we wanted something to be uplifting, easy to love. That's something we kept talking about. We want this to be easy to love and easy to do. Not easy in the sense of like technically wise, but just for the dancers too, joyful for the dancers to also perform, because we have been so siloed for so long. So really is a celebration of life. That's kind of how we like to look at it.
So let me ask, you've got the student component, and you've told us that, the students are being bussed in. Thousands of students are going to be able to see the show. The public now, how can we buy tickets?
Yes, please. As you mentioned earlier, there's a lot that goes into these productions, and we really appreciate the opportunity to come and talk about it, because I don't know if everyone has that real true understanding of a dance production and how long it takes to build it and to make it happen. And it happens for 50 to 60 minutes, and then you're off to something else. So your support, the community support, is huge to continue to allow us to bring these performances to the rest of the public and to the students. So yeah, Thursday, October 13th at the Lobero, 8 p.m. So you can just go on the Lobero website itself and buy tickets, or you can call the box office. So lobero.org, and then just look for Humanity, and you're able to buy tickets there. We try to make them affordable so everyone can come. We don't want money to be a deterrent
Hindrance.
to somebody joining. So yeah.
So, just real quick, Richard's giving us time. We have 2 minutes before the next break. So which of you three want to tell me about the music that you've chosen?
Chloe, why don't you jump in?
Sure, absolutely. So when we were choosing music for this, we were really looking for, as I said earlier, some diversity. So there is some Gershwin, there is some Elton John, there's some Earth, Wind and Fire, there's some George Benson. So it is very, very widespread across all genres. But I think that a lot of the music is music that is recognizable to the public. And I think that's part of the reason why we had such good feedback last year, is that people, they love listening to Elton John. Who doesn't want to go listen to Elton John, So yeah, so we had a really good time picking music for this show. Got to branch out a little bit, which was really nice.
And then, one of the questions I thought I'd ask and is just the idea of, how you cast the show. So that's a kind of a really interesting angle. So, I guess if you're listening and you think to yourself, well, they're casting the show because there's a certain kind of presence that a person has that will lead to a certain character development. On the other hand, maybe you're going against type. You mentioned the diversity, et cetera, et cetera. I'd like to know what you think about, how you cast the show. Really important question. Hey, Richard, let's go to quick break.
Yes, Elizabeth.
Reintroducing, this is the Nebula Dance Lab. I'm speaking with 3 of the core, and we're celebrating a performance on October 13th at the Libero. And Libero's just a fantastic place. And you really should try to see if you can get in to see this show, because I think we've been too long away from this expression of our own bodies during this pandemic. So it's important that we celebrate the fact that we can do this. We can do this. Richard, go to quick break. Back with Nebula Dance Lab in a minute.
You're clear.
Yep. So Ashley, I think you should jump in on this one.
Okay.
Yeah, we can talk about the company. Obviously we have company we have a dedicated company that we have the ability to utilize in these different productions, but then we'll pull in different dancers every season.
Yeah.
So you've got a company. So how big is the company?
We do. What are we at now? 9 We range between 9 and 16. It just depends on the season and the year. And, we have, people with different projects that sometimes come in and out. But we've had the benefit and the luxury, I guess, over the years to build connections with so many artists, and they all have a home. They can all come back to Nebula. So people will come in and out. They might be here. Oh, we're back in Santa Barbara, and we'll be able to pull them in for a project.
I see.
Or we've flown people in from other places that they've moved to come back and work in the company, or might be resetting something we've done. So that's something that really means a lot. Nebula is a family. So how many are? So we got 9 to 16 in the company. Then how many are in the production? What do we have now? I'd say probably 9.
9.
We have a skinnier cast this year,
and then some guest artists.
Yeah.
Yep. We're hoping to eventually take this out. This production is done in a way that's scalable, so we could take this to another community and do a similar kind of student showing and a public performance. And it has such a teaching ability. It has a lot of correlation with core subject matter. So we found that a lot of the schools are really excited about it as well. So
that was another thing. It's really interesting that you Devin's been having a career in finance 20 years. It's really interesting. It's maybe in my time it was hard to convince a school that
we are coming back.
You know where I'm going
in
with
3,
that.
2, 1. You're live.
Welcome back. It's Elizabeth Stewart, and I'm speaking with Nebula Dance Lab. I'm speaking with Devin, Chloe, and Ashley in the company there. We're talking about the performance coming up October 13th at the Libero, and how the craft is done, how a show comes together. And, I just want to get you guys' take on something, which is this magic thing that happens. So if anybody's ever been in a performance or, professional on stage, etc., you'll know what I'm talking about, which is you're rehearsing for months and you think it's never going to come together. And there's always one person or two people where you're like, oh my God, they'll never get it. And with this particular art form, it's, as Devin mentioned, there's a huge amount of trust involved in your fellow performers. So you're working, and then you're like, okay, this is going to be a total disaster. And you're thinking in the back of your mind, this is not going to come together. Then you step on stage and it comes together. It just boom comes together. And this is in the case of many performances where it magically works. And I wonder if you've ever experienced that. Hey, Chloe, maybe Ashley, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, Ashley, why don't you take that? You've been in a lot of productions.
So yes, I've definitely been in that situation multiple times, but I have to say with this piece, with all of us kind of coming back after the pandemic, I never felt that way last year. We were all so excited to be back with one another and dancing. And the kind of the first time Chloe set this piece, we did it in kind of a rapid fire way. We came and set everything, and then the whole piece was complete. And then we had, I think, 2 months to just rehearse it and make it, stage ready. And it's one of those pieces that's so fun and different and just keeps going that at the end you kind of feel like, how did that just happen? Like it's already over. It's so fun to perform. It's so fun to dance with the other dancers. And I think I can't say fun enough. It's just a really amazing piece to do. And all the company, for the most part, we've all been dancing together in some capacity for at least 4 or 5 years. So we know each other really well. We know how to kind of manage things that happen on stage. We know how to react to each other. So it's really a great cohesive group, and the piece is just glorious. It's fantastic. So I'm pretty sure that we won't be feeling nervous about going on stage by October.
It's so exciting. I wanted to come out of retirement to be on stage. I was telling Chloe, can you fit me in somehow? Can I just do a little?
And I said, absolutely, just let me know.
Right. Well, so that begs the question, the age range that you've got dancing with your company.
Yeah, it's spread across. I think we're pretty agnostic when it comes to that. We just look for, someone who can carry out the work.
Right.
And that's something that's really important to us. We have, with our festival platform too, diversity, showing diverse art is really important to Nebula, just as offering opportunities to anyone who can carry out the work. That's what we're looking for.
Now, what are you talking about when you say festival platform?
Oh, yes. Whole nother thing. Yeah, in the spring, we do a festival called HH2, which is it's an opportunity for artists all over the world who want to submit work can come into Santa Barbara, and Nebula produces that over a 3-day festival format. So and we actually have a 4th day that we do student work and celebrate art educators with an Apogee Award program. So that's been a phenomenal opportunity to show all styles of dance. We've had companies from Hungary, Canada, all across the country here, showing art for the past, I think we're in our 8th or 9th year of the festival. So that's just a phenomenal opportunity. And Ashley and I, we produced that festival together, and I don't know who's more excited, if it's Ashley and I or if it's the artists. Every year we are just treated with just fantastic wide range of art.
And just a question: do the artists, their whole companies that come then?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Okay. So do they approach you guys, or do you approach them?
It's been kind of a mutual thing. I think over the years it's grown, and people have told their friends and, their friends. And so we now have more and more of a network of artists. And we've probably had over 80 companies over the 8-9 years that have come through. And we added music this last year. So now it's music and dance. And we hope to continue to expand that into other live art forms.
And is that at the Libera as well?
We do that at Center Stage Theater. That's
right.
Where we produce it. And then we do stuff around the Paseo Nuevo courtyards, and we try to make some free stuff happening throughout it. But we have plans to expand it. We would love to see a live art festival in Santa Barbara. That's the big dream.
And just, because many of the folks that are listening may not be, in the dance world, but let's say they want to help or support you guys. Are there ways they can do that?
Absolutely. There's support in all different fashions. So they can go to nebuladance.org. There's a way to support financially there if they want to just give a financial donation. If they want to volunteer, same place, just go there, reach out, you'll get one of us, and we're happy to have you help in any different way. We've got the festival, we've got this show, we've got many different ways to volunteer for the organization. And for any younger individual who's looking for community service, volunteering your time for an arts organization, that counts. And we have opportunities for a social media, someone who can help us with our social media presence. And so many young folks know how to do that so well. And that would be a great opportunity, again, as you're younger and looking for that community service. So please, we are arms open.
What about, one of the really interesting things is that there's careers, as you guys know, especially coming from Broadway, there's careers behind the scenes, there's stage management, there's dressers, I did verisimilitude and set design for a while, in San Francisco. So do you need any help with that?
Yeah, there definitely reach out if you have those skills. Lobero is a union house, so we get all our crew, through their union connections that way, and they have residencies within that. But I would say reach out. We're happy to help if you're looking. Maybe they're looking. Who knows what we can do with connecting you within the community.
Got it. And so I just want to get back to the idea of, what goes into the parts of the craft of putting together a show like this. And I think maybe Chloe could start us out when we get back from the break and talk about, you know, what the inspiration is for the actual choreography and how that actually manifests. And then what's the next step? How do you, you know, where do you rehearse? How do you rehearse? You know, when are people called? When do you give notes, et cetera, et cetera? And I'm using technical terms here, dear listeners. This giving notes is when the director actually sits everybody down and tells everybody, you know, you did that right, that wrong, blah, 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 blah. So all of that takes time and it takes effort. So I want to know how that trajectory happens. We get back from the break, maybe we can talk about that. Hey, Richard. Richard.
Yes, Elizabeth.
Time for your Guinness. So we got to go to quick break. We get back from the break. I'm reintroducing Nebula Dance Lab. The performance is October 13th at the Libero. And it's an opportunity to support dance in our community here. And what I'm finding out is it's an opportunity to support much more than dance, but the festival is involved here that they produce, and they bring in other companies to the delight of our local audience. And I'm finding out that there's opportunities to help and support the company, both financially and with volunteer time. So now's the time to come out and do something. Don't turn that dial. Back with Nebula Dance Lab in a minute.
All right, you're clear.
Thank you. So Chloe, you
Yeah.
get this.
Yeah, I gotta go teach soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you need to take this and then, you know, hop off.
Yeah, well, I want to
also fine.
kind of enlighten folks about the moving pieces
Okay, I can do that.
that kind of go into it. Yeah, and isn't it interesting, Devin? I was saying at the last break. So last night I did you know, my doctorate is in art history, and so I gave a guest lecture last night, and they had me on a stage, and I thought, how interesting, because the minute I got up there, I started to actually feel like, okay, I can actually use my body to explain what I'm talking about. And that's what dance does for you. So no matter what career you're in, you know, you have a different way of entering a room, of leaving a room, of filling the room, of, you know, you know what to do. So, you know, that goes back to the idea, oh, you dancers are all dumb. Well, watch me now. You know?
Yeah.
So
Chloe's she just got back from Paris doing some work out there for her PhD. So yeah,
are you working
very
on it?
educated people.
Yeah. So Chloe, you're taking your doctorate in what discipline? In dance?
No, absolutely not. I study early modern French and Scottish history.
Really?
Yes, yeah. But we have several company members that are doctoral students or MFA students. So we are a very, very highly educated group of women.
Right. Okay. So
just so you know, Chloe does have to hop off, so we'll have her take the question, and then she will have to excuse herself from the program.
Thank you.
Okay. Are you at UCSB?
I am, yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Excellent.
here we go. In 3, 2, 1, you are live.
Welcome back. It's Elizabeth Stewart. I'm speaking with Nebula Dance Lab, and we're talking with a wonderful group here of ladies that are working with the company towards the performance October the 13th at the Libero. And was talking about the behind the scenes stuff that goes on, that, you know, you see the performance and it's a 50-minute performance, but you don't realize there's 3 months plus behind that short, less than an hour thing going on in front of you. Chloe, I wonder if you could speak to that. You know, what we get that inspiration to set the choreography, what goes on?
Absolutely. So I, as a choreographer, I work by finding music first. I know some choreographers, they create what's called phrase work first, and then they set that to music. But I don't work in that way personally. So Devin and I sat down and talked about what we wanted the music to be for this show, and then I went from there. I'm also fortunate enough, as Ashley mentioned, that we as a group we've danced together for so long. And so I feel like I know these dancers inside and out. I know what looks good on their bodies, what looks good in movement for them. And so I really like to create movement that, as Devin mentioned earlier, is joyful for these people to perform. So we changed styles and we changed techniques, but for me, this show was just really inspired by the wonderful music that we get to dance to.
Okay, so the music comes first, and then tell me about the rehearsal.
Definitely. So we rehearse at the Dance Network. It's a lovely space. We're so fortunate enough to be there. And we spend several hours there a week. And the call process just depends on what part of the piece we're working on that night. So you might only have 2 dancers called if there's a duet. You might have the entire company called if there's a full company number. So it just changes from week to week. And then as we get closer to the show, we start doing what's called a full run through. So we just start running the show from top to bottom and cleaning and making sure that it's ready to go.
And you mentioned to me during the break that you're working on your doctorate.
I am working on my doctorate, yes.
Yeah, so tell me more.
So I study early modern French and Scottish history. I have a bachelor's in European history and a master's in European history as well. So I am in my 6th year at UCSB, and I just got back from a year-long Fulbright research trip to France. So I'm happy to be
How
back.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So
Nice
not only that, a Fulbright scholar. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. You know, I have a really great, so my last name's Stewart, inherited from my first husband, and he is a Scottish artist. And so I lived in Scotland for years, and he is super interested, Adrian is, he's super interested in Scottish art history. So I've got a number of books. We're great friends.
Yeah.
I've got a number of books that he has recommended to me about early Scottish painting. Is really interesting. It's fantastic that's what you're up to. And Devin, you mentioned you're in finance.
Yes. Yeah. I'm a principal at a financial firm here in town, Cap Trust Financial. So yeah, I've been doing that for 20 years after a 10-year dedicated career in the performing arts. So I do that alongside my, artistic director and producer role with Nebula. And I am just very fortunate, I feel, to be able to facilitate, creating opportunities for artists. That's really what I see my role as.
Yeah.
And bringing art to the community. That's a huge passion. Giving back to the community, doing work with various foundations, and to be able to do that through the arts is just, I can get all cheesy and start crying. I mean, and that's just what it means to me.
Right. No, there's totally.
It warms my heart for sure.
Yeah, no, I get it because, I've been appraising for 30 years and it's really interesting. So the idea of counseling artists that are quote unquote emerging in the visual arts is really interesting because you need the business part. You just do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we just do.
I have been an entrepreneur from the time I was a little kid. I had a little laundry business when I was 5. I would pick up everyone's laundry around the house and I would give you a slip and say, okay, Chloe, thank you for letting me do your laundry. You owe me 50 cents, and so I've been doing that kind of stuff since I was a kid. And so it's just only, I think, natural.
And Ashley, what's your background?
So yeah, my background all over the place, but I grew up, my mom also was a dancer. She taught ballet, and of course, naturally, I wanted to do everything but ballet because my mom was a ballet teacher. But no, I trained in ballet and mostly ballet and jazz and hip hop. Actually, growing up, I grew up in Oceanside, California, and then I moved up here to go to school, to go to UCSB, which my degree is actually in political science, and I don't utilize it very much. But yeah, so I dance for Nebula and another company called Selah, and I teach dance, but mostly Monday through Friday. It's my main job. I'm out in Los Olivos at an amazing studio out there, teaching everything from kind of 4-year-old hip hop to advanced contemporary. So
I just want to mention, dear listener, that you're listening to 3 dancers that are accomplished women in other fields, and what the takeaway is from this is that any art form is a platform, And you have some elemental building blocks of that platform that you can apply to almost any other discipline that you and I emphasize the word discipline because the main thing that the arts teach you is discipline. And so if you know what we've learned is that Chloe and Devin and Ashley can apply that concept of a disciplined focus, and they've learned that through the arts, and they're applying it to their world, their lives, their scholarship, their careers, etc. So, you know, this is why it's important to, I think, expose the young folks, you know, growing up in a different generation from these three women. You know, we had dance, music, drama in school, and now that is not really the case. And so it's important for people to have for young people to have an outside classroom in the arts. So important, I think, because I don't think I would have gotten through school if there wasn't the drama and the music department there, because I would have been bored and I would have dropped out. And so, you know, this is important. It's an applicable skill. What you learn in the arts applies to almost everything that you do once you've got that under your belt. Wouldn't you agree, Devin?
Yeah, definitely. I think that you said something that really hits something for me, which is that discipline. You know, I think that you learn such discipline and accountability, and those are traits that you can use and apply anywhere in life. And get discipline and work ethic.
Right, and you know how to
persistent work ethic.
Right, right, and I think
Yeah.
another thing I want to mention is that you understand the concept of failure in a different way.
Yeah.
What,
Yeah, there's an opportunity. That's,
yeah, that's
right. It's just a chance to be better.
That's exactly right. So you know, that's why it's important to support dance, I think, and all, you know, obviously all the other art forms, but that, you know, people that say, well, you know, it's not necessary, it's not a core curriculum. Well, in some cases, like my case, for example, it was a core curriculum because I wouldn't have gotten through school if I you know, I just wouldn't have, and it gave me a platform to open myself up to a different way of learning. So, hey, Richard, I see you're making the sign. We got to go to a quick break. Just reintroducing, I'm speaking with Nebula Dance Lab and learning all about the lab and all about the performance coming up October 13th, Humanity, and the outreach, which I'm just tickled pink about the outreach that Nebula does in the community. Thousands of students see the performance, and you, dear listener, can support the performance by coming to the theater to Lobera on the 13th and seeing the performance. Support them and see what they're up to, and then also have an enjoyable evening of looking at gorgeous work. And you know, this is an important part. And then I'm learning about the festival that is coming up. And I want to have you guys on talk more about that, Devin and Ashley, the festival coming up, and the outreach that you do, bringing art into the community here. How cool is that? Hey, Richard, let's go to a quick break. Don't turn that down. Back in a minute.
You're clear.
All right,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Bye.
All right, bye, Chloe. You're on, Ashley. Let me get my lighting right.
Your lighting looks great.
Thanks. I don't know if they actually see the video part, but I do. I can see it. I was trying to adjust it and not look away, and I hit the fireplace light, so like lights are going on in the rest of my house. What's going on?
That's funny. Yeah, we can't see any of that.
I know.
That's hilarious.
Funny. Addie's first day of junior high today.
Oh.
Yep.
Was she excited?
Yeah. She was really excited.
Oh,
Just tell Chloe, this is the story of Scottish art.
Okay, let me take a picture of that. Okay, got it.
And Lachlan Goody is the author. It's just published. I had an opportunity to hear him speak. A really great historian. And he talks, he would be super interested in this because he talks about the Celtic A connection, which is the French-Scottish connection in
Very
art
cool.
history. Yeah, so something she might look into. And Lachlan, Lachlan Goody, it's spelled Goudie, and if he does lectures on YouTube as well that are kind of more common culture stuff, but this is really
Very
cool.
Okay,
Yeah.
final segment, 3 minutes. 3 minutes in 3, 2, 1. You are live.
Welcome back. It's Elizabeth Stewart. I'm speaking with Nebula Dance Lab. The performance is coming up October 13th at the Libero. And I kind of want to finish the hour by letting folks know how they can see the performance, where they need to go to buy tickets, if they can support the theater in any way. And not that the theater, we support Nebula Dance Lab in any way. Why don't you tell us, Devin, how folks can buy tickets and the performance evening, et cetera, et cetera. Tell us everything.
Yeah, so the performance is at the Libero Theater, which is right in downtown Santa Barbara, one of the 3 historic theaters. So just coming to the theater alone is an amazing treat if you haven't been there. But yeah, we're lucky enough to be there October 13th. You can go to lobero.org for tickets. That's probably the easiest way, or you can call the box office, and that's 805-963-0761 is the box office number. And tickets are up now. You can get them now.
And you said affordable.
We try to create lots of different ticket prices to make it affordable for people. We really don't want money to be a deterrent. We want everyone to be able to be welcomed in. So yes, please, you'll find something there that works for you.
And then the schools are coming, what dates?
Yeah, so the schools will come the 11th, 12th, and 13th, and they come in the morning, so 9 and 10:30, and those are participating schools. So if you are part of a school and you're listening and you want your class to attend, please reach out to Nebula, nebuladance.org. We have all of our information there, or you can send an email to info@nebuladance.com and just let us know, and we'll get you the information and tell you more about how you can participate, how your class can participate. But there is no cost for participating schools. This is a field trip opportunity. It is an opportunity to extend your academic programming, to collaborate with some of your academic programming. We have a teacher preparatory packet that goes along with it to help you give ideas of what teachers can do, and also something we send home with the student so that there's a correlation with the family, so the family can also be integrated into the experience. So it's a full, well-rounded experience, again, through the school and through the family, and really trying to extend and expand into our
Well,
community.
thank you guys. Thank you, Ashley, Chloe, Devin, for being with us. And this is going to be fantastic. October 13th, I encourage you to take a look at their website and come join me at the theater at the Libero October 13th to see Nebula Dance Lab. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, you're clear. Very good. Beautiful program.
So Richard will send me the recording, and my agreement with the station is that they don't necessarily have to pay me, but I have to be able to give the recordings to my artists. So you guys can use it in any way you want. Like you can cut it, clip it, use it on the website. If we said anything.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, so you can, use it for promotion if you want, and take quotes out and do what you want with it.
Awesome.
And yeah, so we'll see you on the 13th.
Yeah, this is really fun. We don't often get to really dig into everything, you know, it's like such a small little moment of time that you really can't get into what we're really doing.
Right. And
It's a
that's,
treat to be able to really kind of dig into that, and share a little
yeah,
bit more.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. And I do think it's so really interesting. So my son is 35. And when he was 6, I thought, oh, he's going to make a dancer for sure. You know, he's got that long, lithe body, and we're going to make him a dancer. And I took him to ballet class, you know, started bar, and he hated it. Like the second position was fantastic. And I said, fencing. He ended up going to Duke on a full scholarship for fencing and became